So after last week's episode was a big disappointment and the worst episode of the season so far, I was curious to see if the show could come back and redeem itself and start putting out good content again. However, the title of this episode is The Tooth Hurts, which sounds to me like yet another bad Power Rangers filler episode. Still, I want to keep an open mind and give the show the benefit of a doubt, so let's go ahead and take a look at the episode and hopefully it won't be as bad as I'm expecting. This is episode 6. The Tooth Hurts. The episode opens with Riley at the track doing some training, while in space, Poisandra is trying different wedding cakes made by one of Sledge's monsters named Cavity. After trying some cakes, Poisandra tells Cavity that she wants a cake so awful that the guests will remember her wedding day for a long time, so Cavity presents her with a cake that causes tooth decay. Fury comes in to yell at Poisandra for messing around with the prisoners, so she gives him a piece of the cake and laughs as Fury collapses in pain from it.
What's going on here?
Sledge! Cavity baked me an evil cake and Fury tried it!
Cavity!
Yes, sir! Sledge, sir!
Bake that cake for the Rangers. Make them suffer and then... bring me their energems.
Wait, what?
Bake that cake for the Rangers. Make them suffer and then... bring me their energems.
Okay, that's a plan, I guess. Back on Earth, Riley continues his training inside the underground lab, but gets frustrated with Chase, who is making noise. Riley tells Chase he's trying to focus, but Chase says Riley isn't doing anything except practicing the same sword move over and over. Riley says he has his reasons, and explains to Chase that when he fought Fury in the forest, he couldn't keep up, so he's training to make sure he comes out on top in their next fight. Chase says the next fight may be different, so Riley should focus on learning how to adapt to whatever Fury throws at him, but Riley says Chase shouldn't be giving him training advice since he's never seen Chase train. Chase says that just because he doesn't train like Riley doesn't mean he doesn't train at all, before leaving the lab in a huff. Later at the restaurant, the guys are looking at a map so they can find the location of the gold energem, which Riley says bonded with the pterodactyl. Shelby then brings the guys some free samples of cake, but before the group can eat the cake, Riley tells them to stop after observing some customers who have eaten the cake and are now in pain. The team sees Cavity in the kitchen, so they split up to chase the monster, with Riley and Chase going out the front door to cut Cavity off, while Tyler, Shelby, and Coda head toward the kitchen. In the kitchen, the three find the chef tied up and proceed to untie him as Chase and Riley morph and go after Cavity outside. The two shoot down Cavity, who tries to blast the Rangers, but they dodge the attack and watch as it hits a tree that immediately starts to decay. At that point, Tyler shows up to give them some help, but Cavity orders some Vivix to attack him. Riley then says he'll handle Cavity, but Chase makes fun of how Riley can only hit tennis balls, and even with Chase mocking him, Riley is able to deflect the monster's blast. Cavity then charges the two, and Chase shoves Riley out of the way to shoot the monster, but Riley tells Chase he had Cavity, which is enough of a distraction for Cavity to knock them both down. Tyler finishes off the Vivix just as Cavity runs off, and he asks Chase and Riley what happened as Shelby and Coda arrive on the scene. Riley confronts Chase, saying he needs to quit messing around before leaving, and Shelby asks what's going on, with Chase saying that Riley just doesn't get him. Afterwards, Riley and Miss Morgan analyze Cavity's cake to see what causes tooth decay, but Chase unknowingly starts throwing the pieces of cake away before Riley yells at him to stop. The two argue, with Chase saying that Riley wants to analyze everything before dumping the trash on the table. Miss Morgan tells the two to leave until they can sort this out, so Chase skateboards away and Riley goes to the lab to train some more. However, because Riley's angry, he can't focus and takes a break as Keeper walks in. Keeper asks Riley what's troubling him, and Riley says that Chase doesn't take anything seriously, adding that Chase is out skateboarding while a monster's on the loose. Keeper tells Riley that Chase's intentions are as sincere as his, saying two paths can still lead to the same destination and that maybe he and Chase are not so different. Meanwhile, Poisandra tells Cavity that he needs to get back to baking her cake, but Cavity says his loyalty is to Sledge before he transforms into an eviler version of himself and shoves Poisandra out of the way, saying he has work to do. Okay. Cut to Chase skateboarding around the city, saying if he was Cavity, he would go to where he could cause the most decay, which leads Chase to find Cavity blowing up some buildings. Chase gets on his Dinocom, saying he found the monster, which surprises Riley, who runs off to give Chase some help. Chase goes to Cavity, and the two exchange words before Chase blasts the monster and morphs into action. Cavity begins blasting Chase, but he dodges the blast and runs up to Cavity so he can take out his teeth. However, the blast deflects back at Chase, which gives Cavity the opportunity to blast Chase, causing him to demorph. Cavity goes up to the fallen Chase and gets ready to finish him, but before he can, Riley steps in to block the attack. Riley is able to hold off Cavity long enough for the other Rangers to come in and blast the monster back. Riley goes to Chase and says he thought Chase was at the skate park, but Chase says while they do things differently, their goal is the same.
Good find, Chase. Now let's destroy this chef.
It's morphin' time.
Dino Chargers!
You okay?
Go. Ready!
Energize! Unleash the power!
it, Hotshot?
Thanks. Go ahead.
Next, Stegosaurus. Power Ranger Blue. Velociraptor. Power Ranger Green.
Triceratops. Power Ranger pink.
Dinosaur Might, ready to fight. Power Rangers Dino Charge.
Well, that was dumb. Cavity sends Vivix at the Rangers, who begin fighting, with Riley having to save Chase because of his tooth pain. Once the Vivix are taken care of, Tyler, Coda, and Shelby try to blast Cavity's teeth, but the monster deflects the blast and sends it back at them. Chase and Riley then confront the monster, with Chase saying their blasters aren't strong enough, so Riley says they should combine powers and puts one of Chase's Parachargers into his Dino Saber. Using his enhanced saber, Riley is able to take out all of Cavity's teeth before tossing Chase a Raptor Charger so he can finish off the monster. Poisandra asks Sledge to save Cavity, so Sledge causes the monster to grow, and the Rangers form the Tristego formation of the Dino Charge Megazord to fight Cavity again. However, the Megazord is having trouble fighting the monster, so Chase tells Tyler to knock the monster back so he and Riley can enter the cockpit. Once all 5 Rangers are in the cockpit, the Megazord gets enough power to form the Stego Saber, which the team uses to take care of Cavity for good. After the fight, Poisandra swears vengeance on the Rangers, and Fury says that Poisandra won't be able to defeat the Rangers, but Sledge says that Fury is one to talk since he hasn't beaten the Rangers either. When Sledge leaves, Poisandra blows a kiss at Fury, but he tells her not to test him before we cut to Chase meeting Riley at the track, saying he wants to join Riley for a run. Riley proceeds to apologize, saying he shouldn't have made assumptions about Chase, adding that people used to do that to him when he was growing up, but Chase reveals that he wasn't listening, so Riley tells him it was nothing. At that point, the other Rangers arrive, wanting to train with Riley as well, so he tells them that there are no rules, saying that they should adapt to whatever happens, and the episode ends with the teens running around and doing tricks. This episode is not as bad as Breaking Black, but it's still not the best this show has to offer. My main problem with this episode is that the overall message feels like it's all over the place. A majority of the episode is spent talking about how Riley needs to learn to adapt to different situations to become a better swordsman. However, much like the last episode, nothing that happens in this episode really demonstrates that message. All I saw in this episode was that Riley would try to do something to help the Rangers, and Chase would more often than not screw it up. Speaking of Chase and Riley, the episode focuses primarily on these two not getting along at first, but they are supposed to understand each other by the end. But even this isn't very well handled, since again, I'm not really sure what kind of character Chase is supposed to be. And for an episode that focuses primarily on Chase and Riley better understanding each other, it sure is one-sided. There are many scenes that talk about how Riley needs to better understand Chase as a person, but Chase never once makes an effort to try and see things from Riley's point of view. This is made even worse by the fact that Riley is the only one who apologizes at the end, and when he does, Chase is listening to music rather than hearing his apology. The last scene also bothers me because it introduces the message of not making assumptions about other people, which wasn't at all what the episode was about prior to that scene. So we have 3 different messages that are all trying to be demonstrated within the course of this 1 20-minute episode, with none of them being developed enough to be portrayed properly. And then there are these stupid moments. Sledge's evil plan, if you can call it that, makes absolutely no sense. At what point did he think that a monster who bakes cake and causes teeth to rot would be a good weapon to use against the Rangers? Plus, Poisandra's entire purpose in this episode seems to be vowing to destroy the Rangers because they got rid of her baker. And as long as we're on the topic of stupid, what was this scene? Seriously, what am I looking at here? Not only does this moment completely kill the momentum of the entire episode, but it also makes no sense. In any other Power Rangers season, if a member of the team got hurt like Chase did, the other Rangers would force them to sit out of the fight. Even in the last episode, the team left Chase at the lab because he was more of a danger to them, but in this episode, it's okay to let him fight even when he's a liability? Overall, this is a pretty terrible episode. While it's not as disappointing as Breaking Black and the introduction of the Stego Saber was awesome, the villain plot makes no sense, the message of the episode is inconsistent and all over the place, and there are moments in this episode that are really stupid even by Power Ranger standards. So I'd say go ahead and skip this one since it's not worth your time. I'm Nick, aka IronBat1993, and may the power protect you.